All right, so our next topic is anchoring the score for a performance. We explained in our previous episode where we focus on the mechanics and the principles of how skateboard judging works, what it means to anchor a score. Now let's apply to park. Guys, anchoring the score, how important it is here, especially after what we discussed, the little nuances and the overall kind of complexity of park style skateboarding. What would you say about anchoring the score? Alexei, you are the
Alexei?
volunteer for this one.
I mean, yeah, that's to me that's the most important thing when we start watching a competition phase is to do this right, because if we're not able to anchor the score properly, then the whole, like we said, you know, we're here to deliver a fair ranking. We're not really attached too much to the scores themselves. You know, the most important is to put together a fair ranking around the first score or the first score that we're gonna be able to set up compared to the first run that is, you know, at least a proper run. So sometimes it's not possible from the first competitors because they don't deliver a full
Or they
run,
bail too
or
early,
they
right?
bail, or you know, or it's even, you know, it's a low level because, you know, sometimes the depending on the level of the competition, or the you know, they could be national, it could be like regional or local competition, and there's a low level, and it's kind of like difficult when you start with low scores to figure out where to place the others around.
So
that's
does this mean that basically anchoring the score, you can do it multiple times in the beginning of the competition to set kind of the calibration range for the judging panel to be aware of the lower level of performances, the mid and the highest performances. So when they
Exactly.
score throughout the event, they follow these guidelines and basically rank the skaters according to their performances with the most precise detail, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think using the homework that you've done from watching practice, right, and then taking into account that you know, you might get those first heat blues, or you get those first heat jitters where you're the first one out the gate, and then 5 people bail. As a judge, it's going to be harder for you to anchor that correct average score. Because you have nothing great to go off of in the beginning, but it always turns around. It's so sometimes it's the first person, the first person to go will qualify first. That's a really hard thing to do as a judge.
Yeah, the most important.
That's the thing that I wanted to also ask. Like, do you think, because it happened many times that you know, in the beginning of the competition, there is an athlete who drops in, makes a great line, and the scores go off. Now, you know, once you score the first guy super high, you need to kind of follow the pattern, right?
Don't give the average guy a 95, because
exactly.
then it's not going to work out.
And my question when we talk about the anchoring the score, and we kind of continue after watching the practice with the exercise and the video edit that we watch, like this helps, right? Together with watching the practice and the judges debriefs, judges meeting, to prevent these things from happening, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the main part. And when we talk about this, I will try to connect more dots. Remember, Shari, we discussed when we talk watching the practice, when I said I have to watch just the group of the best guys. Like what you just said, like we need to watch the whole practice to be able to anchor the guys accurately and you know, correctly. Because in the first heat, we might have someone who's, you know, in the mid level or in the lower level, and we must be able to say where he stands with our evaluations.
Yeah, I judged a local comp like about a few weeks ago or a month ago, and same thing. It was, you know, a lot of scores around a third, like around that 30-ish mark, and I had to really focus on anchoring a score there because there's so many kids, and I really had to make sure I anchored a score there to get that benchmark, because otherwise it just would have ended up chaotic, because and you know, we would have ended up with all these same scores, and you know, so that was really important. I remember that moment of thinking, okay, I've really got to get this right to make the rest easy.
Yeah, and then if you have 5 people bail in the first heat consecutively, and then you get a run, they make it all the way through. Don't get excited and overscore it just because you've seen some average or, you know, decent skateboarding
or unlucky rounds in the beginning.
That's also why I think it's important to take a little bit more time, not 10 minutes, but to figure out and question yourself when you're having this one proper run, and be like, well, whether it's the first run or the run after 5 people bailing, maybe it's, you know, it takes 10, 15, 20 more seconds to be like, hey, is it really right? Is it really around the 50s or the mid 50s or the low 60s, or am I, you know, and compare to what you've seen during the practice, what you said, guys, really important, because if you did watch the whole practices, you have a clue of where it's at. You know, you have a clue of what's the general level of the competition you're watching. So you're not going to go off.
What is possible to happen?
Exactly. What is possible to happen after it. So you'll be like, okay, well, maybe it's around the 50s, and I'm not going to go much more than that, much higher than that, because that's what it is. That's the reality of the performance of the guy or the girl.
That's good. And let's talk about a bit more about the overall concept. So the anchored score, it's a benchmark that the whole judging panel sets and agrees upon, right? That's like you say, all right, this performance will be for this number of points, right? And everybody respects that and follows it throughout the event afterwards, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all the judges, when they say this is the performance for this amount of points, they score it in the same way. That's the benchmark. That's why it's called the anchored score.
It's very important, because I mean, if you know, a judge that doesn't have it, you know, doesn't watch practice, or just doesn't have as much experience at this level, you'll score the first round lower than the second lower than the third, and that's a big problem. And it's happened. You know, it's happened. Oh, like, you know, the first heat, no one made the cut because the judges didn't set it didn't anchor the score correctly from the beginning.
Or the other way, because you use the anchored score to go back throughout the competition and cross-reference and compare the later rounds with what you anchored. And when we said that the anchored score could be done multiple times to set the correct range and calibrate the judging panel to do the accurate evaluations, you go back and you look at these performances, right? And you say, hey, was it better than what we anchored here? Or was it not so good? Or compared to this one, where we stand? It helps you put basically the points, the dots on the map, right?
And it helps building the consensus between the judges. So then, as you said, you know, everyone should be at the same page throughout all the competition phases during the whole weekend, during the whole competition.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the foundation of how you move forward for the rest of the weekend or rest of the event.
All right. Makes complete sense. And I hope our viewers learn about the importance and the process, how to do and how to create an anchored score. So now we have prepared this little exercise, another video edit to practice and show you how the anchoring of the score looks in a real life. So let's jump to our next video.